Hey, how's it going? Today is 17th of September, Tuesday, and we are taking a look at the market, what kind of opportunities we can find. In today's video, we would be trying to catch up with everything what's happening in UK, but we won't have a lot of time. Perhaps we can take a look at three press releases, right? From those three, we gonna be taking a look at Switzerland and what we can try to understand. But very briefly, we don't have enough time to take a look at in-depth knowledge on Switzerland. And if anything, I would be interested in understand better what Switzerland is doing. And I would be looking for port access and infrastructure projects what Switzerland is doing. But there isn't a lot of information. But we're gonna be taking a look at other things of high value areas and all very important areas where Switzerland is focusing. So instead, we're going to be taking a look at those. But either way, let's begin. Let's begin by taking a look at the first article. It would be something that was published yesterday. That would be Ofsted Standards Organization published update on school inspections handbook. So there is something there. I haven't read it, but when it comes to finances and creating those opportunities, perhaps for more of the young adults to receive the qualifications from home, I hope they already looking at this area. As well as when it comes to finances, I was taking a look at Erasmus and research funding slashed in EU 2025 budget plans, so potentially a reduction in how much finances would be allocated in education, which is not in particular when it comes to bringing and introducing perhaps outside talent. I believe this area would be very important. So later we're gonna be taking a look at Switzerland and other governments where they putting a lot of their attention to when it comes to innovation and education, right? Potentially Europe was spending somewhere around 295 million. So, which I don't know if that's a lot. I think it's not enough. But again, that's an opinion, right? The next article we're going to be taking a look at airstrike. That the Royal Air Force aircraft has continued to fly regular armed reconnaissance patrols as part of coalition efforts to ensure the residual element of the Daesh territories against the are unable to re-establish themselves in Syria or Iraq. On Tuesday, 18 June 2024, the crew of RAF Reaper remotely piloted aircraft armed with Hellfire missiles tracked down Danish terrorists moving on foot in areas of Syria's desert. Have been confirmed that there were no civilians in the area that might be placed in risk. Raptor's crew conducted successful airstrike on individuals. I don't know, since collateral damage and what's safe margin would be 5% of collateral damage. But either way, and in the picture is completely different drone, right? So I thought it perhaps worth mentioning it is a completely different platform from which airstrikes were carried out, right? Last article that we're going to be taking a look at, so that will be three articles that was published by UK's government. The next one that would be UK's forecast record turnout for forecasting. So that would be looking at the data and making sense or trying to understand data. That would be part of data science and modeling, right? Since we will be taking a look at poverty and nutritionist impact in particular some of these regions, including sub-Saharan Africa and other areas, right? uh, nutritions and all food as one of those areas where we're going to be taking a look at Switzerland and all trying to understand is of what perhaps worth mentioning is something the government is doing as well when it comes to what were the daily needs of different individuals and potentially how to close the gap when it comes to poverty, so that with the finances and all nutrition. So perhaps one half of that basic needs taken care of, right? And that's with some of the data science, right? From there, let's progress and let's take a look at Switzerland. When taking a look at Switzerland, we can begin by trying to understand if Switzerland has overseas territories, and since other governments will be looking to perhaps invest into acquiring ports or having port access, but Switzerland's stance is being neutral. But I thought it perhaps worth taking a look at. At one time, Switzerland had opportunity to purchase Alaska in 1867 for 7.2 million, but it perhaps would be how anyone would be looking to defend this territory would be a nightmare. But Switzerland had this opportunity as well as when it comes to port access. Most likely, Switzerland has contracts with Italy and or Germany. That would be Genoa and or Hamburg ports, right? So if they need to actually shift any goods, since Switzerland is a landlocked country, right? So perhaps Switzerland will be using and working with their partners, right? So then we're taking a look at ports, perhaps worth mentioning those areas. When we're taking a look at food, there are top 10. Perhaps there might be smaller companies, but top 10, the massive and biggest ones are up there. And one of those companies are Nestle, that people might know of. And another one perhaps would be UK's company, Unilever. So perhaps worth mentioning, right? Since we take a look at food and all some of those products and all brands up there, but there are a number of companies up there based on annual revenue and all these kind of areas, right? As well as why people should care that there are 10 companies. Of FAM, that would be a company who have carried out this investigation. Aim to campaign was to raise awareness among consumers as to the practices of the Big Ten, so that would be 10 companies that we are taking a look at, to point out the fact that despite the fact that there will be sufficient food to feed every person in the world, many still die of starvation, which perhaps could be this area could be overcome, right? The organization sought to apply pressure on the powerful food corporations that Big Ten include, right? Which we were just taking a look at. But either way, so the company had their own interest in taking a look and investigating who are top 10 companies when it comes to food and beverages, right? And most likely, when you entering into grocery store, most of the products are being owned by just handful of companies, right? And let's take a look at different research work that was published. That recently that was published 20th, just a year ago in September 11. Today is September 17. So a year and 6 days ago, right? We would be taking a look at research and development spending, and it's something that was published by UK's Commons Library, right? But before we do that, we're taking a look at this research work that was when it comes to spending on some of those areas, what I believe would be very important. Perhaps we should take a look at disclaimer, right? Where this organization did not hold any responsibility for some of the research work that they just have been published, right? With that being said, let's take a look at or summarize some of those areas that was published within this work, right? There was a lot of changes, right, in the way how research and development has been carried out. But either way, in 2022, the Office for National Statistics changed their method used to produce estimates for research and development spending, which led to substantial increase in figures. For example, the estimate for research and development spending in 2019 increased from 38.5 billion used the old method to 59.7 billion under a new method. There was a lot of changes in definitions and how governments would assess what would be spent and how much would be spent when it comes to research and development, right? The government has said that equates to around 2.9% to 3% of GDP, which exceeds its targets for total R&D spending to reach 2.4% of GDP by 2027. But by the way, that's government. That's government, and there is a definition change. So why would anyone increase spending if they can change definition? If that makes sense. So that's where things are as of now. Well, either way, let's take a look at top statistics, right? Let's one more step before taking a look at companies and where the money would be allocated, right? The definition for research and development. Research and development spending is analyzed according to the international agree Fracati method for collecting or reporting on research and experimental development, named after a town in Italy where the original Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development guidelines were first proposed in 1963. The Fracati manual uses a following definition of research and development. First of all, since in Italy, people speak Italian. While trying to translate it, so perhaps that's where the mess would begin, but either way. So there's a lot of issues there. Once that been said, we can take a look at translation. Creative and or systematic work undertaken in order to increase the stock of knowledge, including knowledge of humankind, culture, and or society, and devise new applications of available knowledge. So a very broad definition, by the way, as well as it was chopped out of what perhaps the person was trying to define, but either way. When taking a look at research and development spending, most of the spending, some of this is already higher education, private and non-profit, overseas, public sector, and businesses. Businesses had the highest expenditure. And when it comes to developing products or services, right? Once that's been said, let's progress. There's a lot of areas to cover. Let's take a look at perhaps top products or groups in the UK. So where most of the spending went to. Computer programming and information services activities, most of the spending went to, as well as business activities, technical testing and analysis. Number two, number three, that would be chemical and pharmaceutical area. Number four, transport, manufacturing, electrical machinery. For whatever reason, aerospace would be very small in comparison to other areas, as well as if UK is spending so much on computer science and all, in other words, computer programming and information services activities, software development, where are solutions, right? I would be interested to see where are those solutions, but either way. Hopefully we can see those in the next 10 years or so, hopefully. As well as we can take a look at other areas, including socio-economic objectives in the UK, general advancements of knowledge, that would be very important. Help general advancements in knowledge, so that would be overall defense and all other areas like energy, and all these areas would be very important. Agriculture perhaps is something that shouldn't be overlooked. I would highly recommend perhaps paying more attention in these kind of areas and how those sectors would be overseen, right? Next part, we're going to be taking a look at based on numbers that was published in 2020 and where UK stands. Again, UK is changing definition and inflating numbers, by the way. But anyway, perhaps others doing the same. As well as in this or today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Switzerland, who potentially is spending more. But anyway, I don't know if it's competition, it's just how much value would be created. I would highly recommend focus on this area. How much value would be created if there's competition going on. Perhaps there's more things happening, but either way. We can take a look at top companies. That will involve top 10 companies investing in research and development in 2021. First one, that will be US-based company, Alphabet. Next one will be Meta. And number three, Microsoft. Most likely, Microsoft is at the top. I don't know entire budget what Microsoft is working with, but perhaps right now, as we speak, Microsoft at number one. I know the top places definitely. Well, number four, Huawei. Number five, Apple. Number six, Samsung, South Korea. Volkswagen, Intel, Roche, that is Switzerland's company, which I was trying to understand a little bit better yesterday, but that would be pharmaceuticals, which is kind of interesting area that Switzerland is spending a lot of capital in and trying to discover high value and all, investing a lot of research development and offering different products and more services to customers as well. As well as then take a look at UK top 10 companies investing in research and development in 2021. That would be AstraZeneca. Again, that would be pharmaceuticals, very similar to where Switzerland is spending a lot of capital in. GSK, and then it's banking services, HSBC, Lloyds Bank, the same when it comes to Switzerland expenditure. Banks are at the top places. From there, we're progressing and take a look at Rolls-Royce, aerospace and defense, which is kind of interesting. I thought just this company alone would be able to boost numbers, but either way, Unilever is something that we were taking a look at in today's video. Top 10 companies when it comes to food and or beverage. So Unilever, that will be UK's based company, where we most likely going to be taking a look at Switzerland and where and how much Switzerland-based company is spending when it comes to research and development in food. So it's kind of strange, I guess, that there's a lot of research that innovation when it comes to food would be taking a look at those areas, right? Last point, and we're gonna close on that. That will be by university and what are top universities by expenditure in research and development in UK, right? That would be top 10 universities by expenditure, kinda, since all the numbers are constantly moving and changing, right? Just a couple of military contracts, and that would put all these stats out of balance, right? When it comes to innovation expenditure, for example, right? But either way, so I thought I'll touch on top 10, and perhaps we can progress to top top another 20 on top of that. So that would be in total 30 universities by expenditure in innovation and research and development for many businesses who are interested in improving their products or services. Some of those markets, it seems like software is leading the way. From there, we can take a look at pharmaceuticals, and there seems to be prices when it comes to pharmaceuticals and evaluation of the companies. From there, I thought what would be very important, that would be food and potentially delivering food. That would be top 10 companies in the world, right? And all brands and how those brands would be managed, including by some of the companies in Switzerland and or UK. So that's where things are, and it's something yourself you're interested in developing. Perhaps it's worth reaching out to universities and see for yourself how you can work with that. I haven't covered robotics and all other areas where Switzerland is spending a lot of attention to, but it's not enough time. Let's close on that. Thanks for watching. See you next one.